say, don't think I teach appropriate things. But you have to know, where are your boundaries? I know where mine are. Do you know where yours are? I know that this morning wasn't going to give me the conditions that would be the ideal model conditions. And I'll leave it up to you to discern whether or not it was offering very clean, symmetrical price action. Sure, market's gyrated around, it's moved around, done all kinds of things. But has it done what this model calls for? No. Should you be upset about that? Some students would be. ICT, you said this repeats every day. It repeats every day in some asset. It's there every single day. But your market might not be the market it creates the setup in. And you have to know that it's fine. It'll come when it's supposed to. But here's the wonderful thing. I didn't fall victim to anything today because I have a rule. After bank holidays, I watch, I observe. Is the market still booking price in the manner I would expect? Dollar went higher, so does the S&P sell off? Not so much. After it ran up initially, yeah. But it has yet to take out that 3740 level. That's my interest. That's the level I'm interested in this week. How's that useful? Well, if I don't have a setup come Wednesday, 7 o'clock in the morning, I have to pull all interest in taking any trades. That's how I operate. Doesn't mean it won't pan out later in the week. It won't deliver on Thursday or maybe even Wednesday afternoon. That would be a missed opportunity for me. I'm okay with that. You're probably not going to have that comfort or willingness to say, okay, I missed that move. You'll probably go crazy because it went down to 3740 on a level that was obvious. It was framework was there, but that's not a trade I would take because it's outside the rules that I've placed on myself for this particular week, non-farm payroll week. Why do I operate like this? Because Thursday and going into Friday, non-farm payroll release at 8:30, the market can be very choppy, aimless, and just do things that are uncharacteristic to what it is I'm looking for in price action. So if I know that these climates in that economic calendar for that particular week every single month are likely to bring those adversities, why would I want to risk money in that when I know there's times when it's not like that? And I'm looking for those in instances where the market's almost inviting me. Hey, look, I'm going to do that thing you're used to seeing. Come over here and get this. Versus, what the hell's going on? Why is it doing that when it should be doing this? All right, I'm going to arm wrestle you. That was 20-year-old ICT. It was an invitation to go out into the arena, bring my sword, leave my shield, because I was better than the average bear. I don't need to worry about defending myself. It was just get out there and buy it and expect limit up moves and blue ribbon results. And then I was the one being carried out on a stretcher. Every single time I was like that, that's what was the result. So you either live long enough to learn the lessons and be better because of it, or it takes you out of the game entirely. And I was fortunate enough to not ever want to lose my passion for this. And even though I had early on adversities that would have otherwise took the average person out of this and interest, completely remove it, I still wouldn't let go of it. And I think that's the reason why the Lord gave me obsessive compulsive. Because if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have stayed in this. Like, it would have been too painful for me to endure all the times where I lost my accounts, even doing it to myself as a 20-year-old. I would have never had the wherewithal to stay with it. I would have given it up way earlier than the dozens of times I said I was going to quit, but really was just me saving up money to get another account started. So there's a lot of lessons that, an experienced individual can give you, but they're going to be in the flavor that isn't going to be the most palatable when you're young or new, because you feel like they're not going to be useful to you until you start losing money. And then you're going to want to know the answers to those questions that are very pressing at that time. How do I stop the hemorrhaging? How do I stop myself from doing this to myself? See, many of you have never even traded outside of a demo yet. You don't even know what that feels like yet. Your first trade is going to be full of heart palpitations. Your palms are going to be sweating, and it doesn't matter how little of risk you're putting on. It's real now. It's a report card that none of you want to get the results for. You're scared. What if your first trade's a losing trade? How embarrassing will that be? Every single time I've ever opened an account since I was 20 some years old, I purposely throw the first trade. I just do something just to put it on there, and then I close it after it puts a loss in. I do that. You know why I do that? It cancels out the necessity for me to be perfect. I'm sure that sounds silly in some of your ears. It's, well, why the hell would you want to do that? Because that's something I have to do, or I will wrestle with perfection. So if I start a new account, say I open up with a broker, I open up and all of a sudden, boom, I'm ready to go in there. I'm starting to trade. The first thing I do is throw one trade. I just toss it in. And that completely discharges my ego. It completely discharges my expectation on myself. And it frees me up to just focus on what it is I'm doing it for. Not, I can't have a losing first trade. I don't even worry about it. I make it to the first trade as a losing trade. There it is, done. I have mastered my ego by doing that very one thing. Whenever I start a new month, I do the same thing. Why? It's a rule for me. Now, I'm not saying I'm losing thousands and thousands of dollars, but I am taking a loss. And it's something I want to do because it sets me up in the right mindset that perfection is unrealistic. So if I can take that loss, knowing I'm going into it, taking that losing trade, guess what that's doing? It's reminding me that this business is all about managing losing trades, because every single trade is a losing trade until you close it in profit. When you open up a trade, you're under the spread, you're underneath the commissions. You got to come out of that. You have to trade your way out of every trade because they're all losing trades. Very, very rarely do you ever get in a trade right away. It jumps right from entry to no drawdown whatsoever. They happen, but largely majority of them are going to be, you got to overcome some kind of initial under the water type threshold, whether it be costs like commission or spread or initial drawdown from the entry. So one of the most freeing things I could have done for myself as a young man was give myself permission to do that very thing. And I got the idea from George Angel, which is also the guy that taught me that if I don't have a real good feel for the marketplace, but I know that the market's going to be moving and I'm just a little unsure about my bias, or I don't have a bias, but I'm expecting a lot of volatility for that day because a report's coming out, something to that effect, I will just put on a small position. I'll just toss something in the water and see how I react to that. If I put a short on, for instance, and back in the 90s, to say I went in and I put 2 contracts short. Okay. I'm watching to see how do I feel in that trade. Do I feel confident it's going to move in my favor, or am I starting to feel like it's going to go against me and widen the loss? And that immediately gets me in alignment with the marketplace. Some of you would never even think to do that because you think that's wasted money. No, no, no. I'm just paying a premium for Intel. When I first read that in his books, I was like, the hell is this guy smoking? You're telling me you're putting real money in the markets, knowing that you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you're just going to get a feel for what's going on? Look, I can do that by watching price. You can't. You cannot. It's not the same. You have a perspective that is much more meaningful when you put something on the line. And for instance, say you trade in Forex, put in the smallest leverage that your broker will permit you to do and see how much insight it gives you. Stop thinking about that MT4 screenshot being blue only. It doesn't matter if you have a little bit of red in here and there. What matters is, are you hemorrhaging money when you're losing it? Or are they controlled losses? Are those losses inside the boundaries that you've outlined for them? You have to have boundaries in every asset and facet of trading. the way you engage, the way you think, why you're doing something, why you're not going to be doing something, what prevents you from engaging a certain way or a certain time of the day or calendar week. And when you have those rules, stick to them. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about them. You have to adhere to them. When you're driving your car, how often do you got to go over on the other side of the road? You don't make it a practice to do it all the time, right? Hopefully. How about drinking and driving? Do you make it a practice to get up every morning and have 12 beers before you go to work and drive to work? Hopefully not. Speeding. I'm guilty of this one. So I'm going to be real careful how I say this one. But how many times do you want to go over the speed of 100 mile an hour? Probably not very often, but I can tell you it's on occasion happened. But I'm being honest, folks. Those rules are there for our protection and everyone else's protection. But your broker's not there to protect you. I'm not going to be there to save you. Your spouse isn't going to help you. Your children aren't going to certainly do anything to get you out of a bad situation. And those people in that chat room that you think are your friends, they don't give a shit about you or your results. They don't care. They don't care, folks. They're in there to get a withdrawal from all of you around them. They're not in there depositing anything good. They're in there to fluff themselves up or to cope. They're in there to get a dose of copium because they're losing. And they want to be around other people that they can see are losing too. And they can talk down to you, even if it sounds like they're doing something admirable, saying, "Oh, don't worry, stick to it. Stick to it. You'll do better." Meanwhile, they're blowing out their account. They're between accounts. They don't have money to put back in an account, but they're giving you advice. And you don't know what they're doing. And you might feel, oh, this person's really nice. He talks to me or she talks to me, encourages me. This person's probably a losing trader. That's why I don't like chat rooms. That's why I don't like Discord rooms. That's why I don't like all those types of things, because they feed negatively. It doesn't give you a benefit of being there. Now, there are times where there are individuals that are genuinely interested in helping other people, and they're showing their prowess. They're calling a move, they outline a move, they explain what's going on, why it should take place. If you're in an environment where it's like that, and you don't have the opinions of others also, like if it's a free for all, everybody can talk, then I think that's a bad place for you to be. But if you're amongst someone that has a skill set that they're showcasing and they're walking you through the marketplace and they're proving prowess, then that's not a wasted environment. That's something that could be beneficial to you. But unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of that going on. And they do exist, but largely it's not like that. Usually it's some kind of a forum where everybody can chit chat. And I know when you're new, because this is what I thought too. I'm going to say this. I'm going to close this session. When I was on America Online, I would join so many message boards and forums, online, because I was looking for that person that I am today, and I never found them. So I couldn't find them, so I became the person I was looking for. When you join these chat rooms, you're thinking that someone's going to be very nice and help you out, and they're going to do it out of the kindness of their heart. And I never found that to be true. I got the same regurgitated crap advice that I already had in all the books I wasted money on. I stopped buying books. 2016 books. I never, ever, ever bought another financial book after that one. That was it. Done. The books that I say that are beneficial, I put on a video on my YouTube channel. That's it. They're the only ones. And I have just about every book you're going to ever come up with, unless it was released after 2016. I probably have it. And I've read some of them multiple times. And mostly it's because it's sentimental value that I went through that crap. But if someone stole them from me, I wouldn't care. Would I buy the books that I mentioned on my YouTube channel again if my books were stolen? Yes. I think they're valuable. I think there's useful information in them. There is no book out there that's going to give you everything. There isn't an author out there that's going to give you all the pieces. And I try to teach with that mindset. I try to cover everything. And a lot of that is going to be the things that you don't feel are valuable right now. Managing losing trades, how to avoid market trading environments that aren't going to be favorable because you're wired to think, what? Go, 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 baby. Push the button, push the button, push the button. Well, I believe I'm better than the average bear. But if I go in every single day wanting to just simply push the button, I'm not going to have the results that I want and that would otherwise be expected of someone in my position. So hopefully in the closing of this Twitter space, you can see why I would be talking about these types of things, because it's important for you to know where your limitations should be, why it's beneficial for you to not want to do something every single day, because it's more profitable to do that. If you can avoid the times when you're likely to have adverse results, you are ahead of the game. And I mean across the board, because everybody has a way of making money. You can make money with Elliott Wave. You can make money with supply and demand. You can make money with black box garbage, okay? Shark patterns and bat patterns and all this other nonsense. There's always a gimmick that you can use to justify why you made money. But nobody has a system where it says, avoid this. Our daily life has all of that. One way. Don't enter. Wrong way. Speed limit. Here's the yellow line. Don't cross it. If it's dashed, you can cross it. But if it's double solid line, don't cross it. No U-turns here. Are you cussing at every sign? You probably do when you need to make a U-turn. Or if you're in a hurry and you know that sign's just suggesting that's probably the safest speed to go into, but you're not worried about that because you're late for work, because you didn't do something beforehand. You stayed up too late. You colored outside the lines. You broke your rules. You didn't set the alarm. You didn't make sure that alarm was set. Everything has a reason for why it happens. And you have to have a way of mitigating those circumstances in trading, preventing the opportunity for majority of your losses. You're going to lose, but the times where you're going to blow your account are going to be in times where you knew damn well you should not have done that, and you want to fix it right away because you don't want to go home with a losing trade. And then you parlay that little boo-boo, that little mistake, into something that completely blows your account. I can tell you, every single time I blew an account, they always were on the heels of one little boo-boo that I wish I wouldn't have done, and I tried to fix it, and that became a paper cut into an open wound that even stitches couldn't even handle. So I'll leave it up to you whether you decide this was a beneficial space or not. It's